There are horror movies, and then there's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Something far uglier. It's about human monsters, deformed, deranged, and drowning in blood, carving a legacy in the rotting backwoods of Texas. For 5 decades, it's dragged viewers into its world of rust, bone, and screaming metal. Across 9 films, the tone shifts, gritty, glossy, incoherent. But the rot never fades. The smell of decay is always there. This is the full breakdown of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre saga. Every movie, every kill. This is where it starts. The beginning of one of the darkest legacies in horror history. A film that feels less like fiction and more like footage from a place you were never meant to see. 5 friends drive through the sun-scorched roads of Texas. The heat presses in. The air feels thick, lifeless. They pick up a hitchhiker, hoping for a bit of kindness. Instead, he cuts his hand open with a dirty blade, smears blood on their van, and smiles like it means something. That's the first warning, but it won't be the last. When they stumble upon a decaying house nearby, they meet something worse than a killer. They meet Leatherface. No words, just a hammer, just a shriek of a dying pig, just the thud of the skull against steel. His face is covered by someone else's flesh, stitched tight over his own. He wears his victims. He mimics them. He becomes them. But Leatherface isn't the only evil in that house. His family welcomes the blood. They eat human flesh. They laugh as people scream. They live in filth and death, surrounded by bones, feathers, and things that used to be alive. There is no sanity in this home, only the slow, steady breakdown of reality. The horror in this movie isn't just in the kills, it's in the silence between them, in the sound of flies buzzing over rotting meat, in the feeling that this isn't fiction. This is something ancient, something Texas buried but never killed. The final dinner scene is a full-blown descent into madness. A paralyzed grandfather sucking blood from a girl's finger, Leatherface squealing behind his mask, and a table full of murderers howling with joy. 12 years after the original, Tobe Hooper returned, but he didn't bring the same film. What he brought instead was a brutal carnival of horror, louder, bloodier, and dripping with twisted humor that feels like laughing in the middle of a funeral. The story follows Stretch, a radio DJ who plays back a recording of a brutal chainsaw murder on the air. She doesn't realize it yet, but that broadcast opens a door she can never close. Leatherface and his family hear it. They come for her, not to kill her, not yet. First, they want to drag her into their world, a world buried beneath the surface, full of tunnels, rot, and madness. This version of Leatherface is different. He's confused. He's emotionally unstable. He develops a disturbing affection for Stretch, treating her like a toy, a prize. Maybe something like love, if love could be stitched out of skin and soaked in blood. The family is even more chaotic now. Chop Top, the Vietnam vet with a steel plate in his head, dances with madness. Drayton, the cook, still believes his meat chili is award-winning, and it is, if you don't ask what's in it. The visuals here are pure nightmares. Skulls turned into chandeliers, skinned faces hung like trophies. The horror doesn't hide anymore. It stands front and center, grinning, and just when you think it can't get worse, there's a chainsaw duel in the heart of the underground lair. Leatherface, howling like an animal, fights with a weapon that's become an extension of his body. This isn't just a sequel. It's a full-blown descent into grotesque celebration. The film dares you to keep watching and punishes you if you do. By 1990, the franchise had become loud, messy, and surreal. Leatherface, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 tries to drag it back into darkness. No more screaming parodies, no more strange humor. This one wants to terrify again. A couple on a road trip makes the mistake of cutting through the wrong part of Texas. There's no help, no witnesses, just endless dirt roads, fading signs, and the growing sense that someone or something is watching them. They end up at another decaying house, another family, but this time it feels even more isolated, more rotted. Leatherface is reborn here, bigger, quieter, more brutal. He gets a new chainsaw carved with the words, "The saw is family." That line is more than a motto. It's a promise. In this version, the chainsaw isn't just a weapon. It's a legacy, passed down, soaked in history and blood. The family is worse than before. A little girl raised to kill like it's a game. A sadistic war vet who tortures for pleasure. A swamp-like backyard filled with bones, traps, and the stench of decay. There's no warmth in this world. Just cold, mechanical violence. This film doesn't ask you to laugh. It wants you to squirm. It wants you to sit in the filth and feel how long the night stretches. The terror is slower, more methodical, more surgical. You're not being chased anymore. You're being dismantled piece by piece. It's not perfect, but it knows what it is. It brings Leatherface back to what made him horrifying in the first place. Not just the saw, but the silence before it starts. This one walks straight into madness. It's not the clean, calculated kind. It's the loud, disjointed kind of horror. The kind that spirals out of control and takes logic with it. A prom night goes wrong. 4 teenagers end up deep in the back roads of Texas, far from rescue and far from reason. What they find isn't just Leatherface. It's a family that's completely unhinged, fractured beyond anything that came before. They're not just killers. They're like broken dolls reenacting the past through chaos and noise. Matthew McConaughey plays a deranged man with robotic leg braces, screaming, howling, tormenting everyone around him with joy. Renee Zellweger's character becomes the final girl. But survival here doesn't feel like triumph. It feels like barely escaping a dream you can't explain. Leatherface, for the first time, seems weak, confused, and constantly shrieking. His presence is disturbing, but not because he's powerful. Because he's empty, like something hollow wearing a human face. Then comes the twist that fractures whatever's left of the film's logic. A strange man in a suit arrives. There are hints of a shadow organization, controlling the Sawyer family for reasons never fully explained. They imply Leatherface is part of a greater plan, something ritualistic, possibly government-sanctioned. None of it works, but the insanity itself becomes horror. It feels like being trapped inside someone's fever dream. No consistency, no answers, just panic, noise, and screaming in a dark Texas night that never ends. The chainsaw came back, heavier, faster, meaner. This 2003 reboot takes the skeleton of the original and dresses it in raw nerve and blood. Set in the same dead-end corners of Texas, this version introduces a new Leatherface, larger, angrier, and merciless. His skin mask is tighter, stitched with rage. His chainsaw roars louder than before. He doesn't play, he doesn't hesitate. His kills are faster, his body language heavier. He's a butcher without remorse. A van full of teenagers picks up a traumatized hitchhiker, but instead of vague warnings, this girl blows her brains out in front of them. That moment sets the tone. No mystery, no buildup, just death, immediate, ugly. The kids stumble into Leatherface's territory. The house is still there, full of rot and rust and the smell of old meat. The horror comes fast. One is dragged into a basement, another strung up on a hook. Screams bounce off filthy walls. There's no music, only metallic shrieks and heavy breathing. The family returns, but this time they hide behind law. Sheriff Hoyt is no protector. He's part of the Bloodline, violent, cruel, laughing as he tears people apart emotionally before handing them to Leatherface. The fear doesn't just come from the chainsaw. It comes from the realization that no one is coming. Everyone here is on it. There is no escape, no safety, no softness. The film doesn't aim to scare you. It wants to grind your nerves down to the bone. This film doesn't ask where Leatherface is. It asks how he was born, not from a womb, but from violence, silence, and dirt. We see his origin in a slaughterhouse. His first cries echo in a pit of blood and screaming animals. Raised in a home where life meant nothing and death was a routine, he never stood a chance. He isn't raised, he's sharpened, like a blade passed down through generations. The story follows two brothers, both on their way to Vietnam. They plan a final road trip with friends. Instead, they're intercepted by a sheriff who isn't a sheriff. Hoyt is back, nastier than ever, and he's the architect of the chaos. He tortures, he dehumanizes. He doesn't just let Leatherface kill, he encourages it. Leatherface isn't curious here. He's brutal, cold, and obedient. There's no mask of emotion. He wears faces like armor. He doesn't know right from wrong. He knows silence and violence. He cuts, he saws, he obeys. The ending is pure despair. No survivors, no heroes, just death. The brothers try to escape. One is mutilated, the other killed mid-scream. Their efforts mean nothing. The chainsaw rips through everything, including hope. This isn't a prequel designed to explain. It's built to crush. It shows that monsters aren't always born. Sometimes they're shaped by the people around them. And in this family, death is the only tradition worth keeping. Forget all the sequels. This film picks up right after the 1974 original. Leatherface's house is burned down. The family is killed. But one baby survives. A baby who grows up never knowing the truth. Now, as an adult, she inherits a house in Texas. Inside it, Leatherface, still alive, still waiting. He's older, slower, but just as deadly. What makes this movie different is that it almost turns Leatherface into a victim. He was hunted. He lost his family. Now he wants revenge. The girl, his cousin, is caught between horror and bloodline. In the end, she joins him. This film doesn't care about comfort. It strips you bare and drags you into a pit of raw, rural terror. It's a trap, and once it catches you, there's no escaping what you've seen. This is the prequel to the original 1974 film. It tries to show how Leatherface started as a child and how the world broke him. A group of young patients escape from a mental institution. One of them will become Leatherface. But which one? That's the mystery. As they flee through Texas, violence spreads. There are shootings, decapitations, betrayals. Every moment pulls them deeper into madness. By the end, one boy snaps. His face is shot off. He stitches on someone else's. He picks up the chainsaw. The transformation is complete. This is not a slasher movie. It's a dark origin story soaked in blood and misery. Almost 50 years after the original massacre, the chainsaw roars back to life. The world has evolved. Leatherface hasn't. A group of young influencers roll into a nearly forgotten Texas ghost town. Their goal? Gentrify it, flip it, profit. But they don't realize they've trespassed on something rotten, something buried under dust, silence, and blood. Leatherface has been hiding here, waiting. And when they evict the wrong woman from the wrong house, they awaken the sleeping beast. He doesn't creep, he doesn't stalk, he erupts. What follows is a bloodbath, not artistic, not suspenseful, just raw carnage. This is the most violent Leatherface ever put to screen. He doesn't hunt, he slaughters. In one unforgettable scene, he boards a party bus full of people live streaming the horror. None of them make it out. He turns the interior into a meat locker in minutes. Sally Hardesty returns after all these years. But this isn't a redemption arc. It's a cruel joke. She confronts the monster who destroyed her life and dies screaming. Leatherface doesn't remember her. He doesn't care. Her pain meant nothing. The ending drives it home. There is no survival. One girl barely escapes, thinking it's over. Until Leatherface pulls her friend through the window and cuts her head clean off while she watches in frozen horror. Her self-driving car rolls forward into the future, but everything behind her is soaked in blood. Leatherface lives because evil doesn't fade, it festers. Which Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie is your favorite? Which horror series do you want to see next? Let us know in the comments. Be sure to click like and subscribe for more horror content if you dare.